Welcome to Hoops and Headsets, episode 10. We are racing towards the World Cup. Today we're going to jump into Group B, do a deep dive. And when I say we, it's me and Shona yet again. Kristen, we're still trying to get her debut. She's just too busy. She's too important. What can I say? But I'm thankfully joined by Shona because talking to myself would be absolutely horrific for all of you. Shona, Group B, an interesting one. Just before we came on air, we said it. This is kind of almost a replay of the qualification group in Lyon. So we have a lot of insight into how these teams match up. Clearly, the headlines will go with France. Everyone's going to be talking about France. And my question, nice and loaded for you, is this France's best ever chance of World Cup gold?
Obviously, if you look just at the roster, you would say yes. I think we don't know who's going to be on that roster. I've tried to ask some people who I think might know a little, and they don't even know. So I think Coach Jean-Aimé Toupin, his staff, they have a very, very big decision to make. So as far as the athletes, the 12 athletes that they're going to be able to pick for this team, it's going to be the best French team maybe ever.
Yeah.
That being said, they're going to have the least amount of preparation, the least amount of pre-exhibition games before the tournament that they've ever had to deal with. This is something completely different than what we have seen France do in the past heading into a preparation.
You could realistically look at 10 players having to come from the W to join up, right? Maybe more, maybe the full 12 would be. I don't think so, but maybe the full 12. Our coach Toupin has his favourites and some of them aren't in the W right now. And they're going to have a few days. That's it. There's a few days together, right? So that tournament in Lyon was probably really important to them, right? To build, that was actually their preparation because they're not going to get any real preparation ahead of their opening game. Hungary, last game of the day on that opening game day. That's a huge ask, right?
It really is. I mean, like we said, we have no idea who's going to be on this team. You know, they've headed into a training camp right now. It starts today, actually, I think. And there's 13 players. Out of those 13, maybe 3 will be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
I like the
be
fact
the
they're bringing some of the like next generation through, right? I think the likes of Tornabees is there and stuff like that. I don't know, but clearly you wouldn't imagine Tornabees and those kind of players are going to make the cut.
Right.
But it's great that they're now starting to filter them in this preparation roster because 3-4 years, the next World Cup in Japan, she will probably make the cut if she develops the way everyone's expecting it to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's another, advantage opportunity, especially with Tornabees not playing in Europe anymore. So, it's an advantage for Coach Toupin and his staff. But it's going to be so interesting. I mean, what France does defensively, how aggressive they are, that's something you need to practice. You can't just tell the players to do this. Yeah, okay, they did it in March, but they might not be playing that way in the WNBA on their WNBA teams. And some of these players are going to, this is what we're supposed to pick up full court every single possession. Yep. We're hard step out everywhere on an on ball. Like, we're hedging to half. That backside rotation better be there. And it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, I agree with you. I think at least 9 WNBA players are going to be arriving, 4 days before the tournament starts? Depends on when their last game is, but yeah.
It's scary. There are some pros to it. So you're going to have players coming out of highly competitive environments that are playing exceptionally well, right? There are some French players that are having the best season they've ever had. Absolutely, blasting through the WNBA and making waves and, lots new players like Astier. I'm absolutely an Astier fan. I think she's phenomenal. I didn't see her hitting the ground that fast that early. I didn't see her being able to have that big an impact. Amazing. I knew she could eventually, but I didn't think she'd do it straight away. Gabby Williams is probably having the best season of her life. Johannes having the best season in the WNBA for a long time. So it feels like they've got a lot of form. But like you say, 3 days to convert from WNBA ball, because it is almost a different sport. We put the ball in the basket. That's about where it ends.
Yep.
Okay. convert your brain to FIBA where you're not going to be on the floor 35 minutes. You're not going to be playing the same amount of court time as you would in the W. You're going to be expected to come in and, like you say, go hell for leather, put everything in for short stints, sub out, go back, sub out. It's a completely different mindset, and FIBA rules ultimately as well. You're going to have to start working with FIBA rules, which plays a different one as well. Couple of questions around that roster. Obviously, we don't know. One question I had, how big is the absence of Rupert? Obviously, congratulations. It's wonderful news. Horrible for French basketball fans, but wonderful for you. And with that, kind of a double side of this question, do you think Malonga is ready to kind of fill the Rupert hole now?
Oh, absolutely. And I say that after, the season that she's having in the WNBA with Seattle, she has been consistent. I don't think she tries to do anything outside of her capabilities. This is what she's good at. Her game will grow still. But she doesn't try to do too much. Yeah. Okay. Seattle not winning a lot of games, but she has been a very big bright spot for them. And, Malonga, she's been around the system. She knows Coach Tupan, his coaching staff, what they like. It'll be very interesting to see her back in a French jersey. And if Rupert was with them, it would have been a little bit different. But I don't think it's an issue that, they're not going to have Iliana Rupert on the roster.
No, it clearly a miss. There's not a team on the planet that wouldn't miss Rupert being in their roster, and she's a very different player to Malonga. Mm-hmm. I'd say she's probably, she is. She's a couple of seasons ahead of her in development, right? 2-3 years ahead of her in development, and her game's more rounded, and she's reading the game a little bit better so she can be a part of a system where the ball's moving a bit quicker and it's a bit of a different style. Whereas Malonga, like you said, what she can do, and what she can do, she does better than most people on the planet. So as long as you lean into that, then absolutely you'll get a huge amount of output from Malonga. And again, they're not going to struggle for having bigs and support to, that roster. When you look at the long list, you're just like, just take 2 teams. Let's just give you 2 teams. You get same as the US. You take 2 teams as well. It's fine. It's all right. Because I was looking at it, and the one that jumps out to me, because this is, for me, if I'm Coach Tupan, this is the one where I don't get sleep at night, the point guard position. So what are you going to take? 3 point guards, maybe?
I think you have to with the talent that they have at the point guards position. You have 3.
You've got Astier, Bernier, Foutoux, Lacan, Late. Who are you taking? I know you don't want to say it because you'll probably know some of these people very well. Who are you taking?
I mean,
You can plead the 5th if you don't want to, I get that.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer that because I think Carla Late deserves to be on the team as far as talent goes, but she has not played on the senior team before.
No.
At all.
That's the problem. They've not filtered her in.
She hasn't attended a camp. She hasn't. And that is difficult. But as far as talent goes, she deserves to be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be a big question mark for Coach Tupan and the Federation, a decision. What do? You take out a 2 position and you take 3 to 4 point guards? Because you can play Late at the 2.
100% is what I was going to say. I'd quite happily have her off ball because she is absolutely devastating off ball. When she attacks the bucket, it's scary.
It is, and sometimes she likes to just bring it up, headman it, go stand away, and then get the ball back and attack after. So, that's kind of the question for me. And then, you look at a player like Romaine Berniez, who what she brings to the team outside of the court is probably bigger than what she actually brings on the court as far as her leadership goes. And I mean, her and Valerie Ayayi were co-captains back in March, and there's a reason for that. So, with so many players coming in late, are you saying we need someone who was there the entire time and has that leadership capability already? and that the players respect. And then, you have to go with the Layla Lacan. She's the next superstar in the women's game, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then what do you do? Footsooks, she's been there. She's played it. She has 2 Olympic medals and she's still in her early 20s, but she's coming off of a knee injury. It's great to see her back. Congratulations to her. She signed, a contract to the end of the season.
Huge. That's
she's not not a player development anymore. Do you say, okay, you know what? Let her get those feelings, her legs back, the feeling back. We'll take her in the future. I don't know. There's so many ways to go.
For me, I think that's a nice get out of jail for Coach Tupan. I look at Fotux and I think I would say next time round.
Right.
You need a season under you. We don't want to put that pressure of game after game after game, the travel, all of the stuff that goes around kind of tournament play. I think that's a nice way to carve that out. For me, Astier is a no-brainer. The season she's had, phenomenal. She looked good in Lyon. Bernier's exactly the same. On court, yes, she has an impact, particularly defensively, exceptionally good defensively. And she reads the game of when to apply more on-ball pressure. She gets that feeling of kind of smelling blood in the water, right? That she goes for the jugular. She reads that well. So I think you take it. Offensively, she's not going to bring you a huge amount. Lacan is Lacan. You're not taking her. It's bonkers. Anyone that doesn't take her probably does need to be sectioned. And for me, Carla Late, I think I use that wild card of saying she's a 2 guard. I'm not going to play her at the 1, or she's my 4th choice 1 if we have injury issues, but I'm selecting her as a 2. I'm selecting her as an off ball. The Carla Late one is the most interesting one. Again, I have no insight whatsoever behind the scenes, but I wonder if there's personality situations where she's not fitting into that group, because I don't understand why she's not been in squads in the past. Because yes, she hasn't been at the level she's at now, but she's been a pretty impressive player for a couple of seasons. Not even to get into like the Lyon conversation, a tournament in Lyon and stuff. It was a bit strange for me. So I don't know if there's something else underlying that there's a personality or something going on there that's not working. But yeah, I think Fotux will probably miss out because of the injury and because of her trying to get herself kind of back up to full speed. But I think those other 4, I'm kind of taking, and I'm sure I've missed other point guards. I'm sure I've taken other point guards off the table that will be furious that they're not in that conversation. But what are you going to do? This is, how can you pick that apart for France? It's absolutely bonkers. Zooming out, can France win it all? And extending that further, will France win it all?
I mean, I keep going back to that game at the Paris Olympics, and they gave the U.S. a run for their money, right down.
They were a toe away from the gold, right?
They were a toe away, and I think it's going to hurt them though, not having the kind of training camp that they are used to having, because they are so used to having this type of preparation, and they don't. So, and it's not like the USA where they had a little mini camp before the WNBA season. France can't do that because their players are still playing on their European teams. And then they had to go to the WNBA. So it will be interesting how this team can gel, mesh, and come up with what Coach Tupan wants to do offensively and defensively, because they're not going to have time to prepare. So they have intelligent players, and I hope, that helps them, but it'll be hard, for them to knock off the best in the world, I think.
Yeah, I still want that. And again, to all my American friends, I do apologize. I still want that kind of David and Goliath, someone being knocked off their throne, right? It's the underdog, and seeing the perennial winner not win is not a bad thing if you're not a fan of that team. So from my side, I think France can win it all. I think the nice thing is they don't have, and again, this is not being rude to the other teams in their group of Nigeria, Korea, and Hungary. They've already shown with Nigeria and Korea that they made relatively light work of them in Lyon. Hungary are the lowest ranked group in the entire World Cup. So they, to a certain degree, and again, I'm not meaning insult, they've kind of got 3 preparation games in their group. Yeah. You're not going to take it that lightly, but they're not having a one and done game straight out the bat. You know, they've got, what is it, 4 days of games, 5 days of games with the break day in there. I think they'll build into that tournament nicely with that group. I think if they've been dropped in with a Belgium or an Australia or a China or something like that, it's more problematic for them that they have to find their game early, and that might knock them off kilter. Whereas I think within this, you know, they can grow. Their opening game is Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's a nice game for them to start their World Cup, having only been together for a few days. I think that's a nice starting point for them. I would love to see them get gold. I can see them getting gold. And it just comes down to how the US, for me, gel. I think it will be or should be a France-US final. It's just how they gel. It really is for me. If the USA come together and play the best that team can play, I don't think there's a team on the planet that touches them.
Yeah.
If they don't and they fragment and just become a group of superstars, then maybe France can sneak through, take the gold, and kind of put to bed the ghost of the Paris Olympics, where we all just watched the replay over and over again and couldn't believe it was just the toe of Gabby Williams that cost them the gold. Okay, next team to look at, Nigeria. Ranked 8th in the world, 3 times in a row, current Afrobasket champions. Going to be blunt, they didn't look great in Lyon in the World Cup qualification tournament that I covered down there. Phases of the game, you saw the Afrobasket champions play, and phases of the game, you saw a team that looked a little lost play and didn't have direction. Which version of Nigeria are you expecting to see in Berlin?
I mean, I want to see that team that was at the Paris Olympics. I'm not going to lie. You know, I think they shocked the world a little bit. And, you know, we're only 2 years out. They're going to have a similar roster, even though they haven't, you know, they're one of the teams that have not really announced their group at all. I don't think they have any players written down on the roster.
Probably
tracker.
not. You kind of know who roughly is going to be there, though, right? They're a consistent roster. They don't throw the thing out and start again each tournament, do they?
No. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, again, I'm not even really sure who coach is going to be, because obviously their coach from the Olympics, Wakama, I thought she was amazing and great, but she's kind of been in and out a little bit as well from what I've seen.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Right. Okay.
I didn't know that either. So, I mean, this Nigeria team, obviously, you know, they've been one of the best Afrobasket teams consistently for the last few years. And these women have played together for a very long time.
Yep.
Are they heading into this with the same kind of preparations that they had a couple of years ago at the Olympics? I'm not sure. There's not a lot that I've seen on social media. You know, I've been looking, I've been trying. But I think they're actually one of the more scary teams if they come in and they're ready to play. But it'll just, you know, you saw them in March. You said you were, you know, slightly a little disappointed in the way that they played. So I think it'll be really interesting. But, you know, if there's any Nigerian team, you know, that Nigerian roster from March, all of them play professionally in Europe, more or less. They have the experience. So it's it'll be really interesting to see how they play. You know, obviously I love Musa. We know you love Musa.
Absolutely love Musa.
She could take over any game, undersized, but it doesn't matter because she's so athletic. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how Nigeria comes and ready to play.
Yeah, I think the 3 keys for me is Musa, Okonkwo, and Macaulay. If those 3 play at the top of their game, it elevates that Nigeria roster to another level and puts them in the conversation with the better teams at the World Cup. One caveat I would put in that Lyon tournament is Amy Okonkwo was coming back from injury. She was on limited minutes. You could tell she was still in that mental stage of recovery where she didn't want to put her body through the kind of pressure that she would normally put her body through. You know, she's a physical player. She's strong. She's powerful. That puts a lot of load through her joints. So I think she was still holding a little bit back in Lyon. So hopefully, I don't know on that injury front. Hopefully she's fully fit and good to go.
I think she is fit because she's signed a contract in the WNBA, so she's not there if they are preparing. It's just so hard because Nigeria, they don't post a lot. They don't have a
No.
large social media. Unless you go and look at the players individually, it's
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
to know what they're doing.
yeah.
They have nothing on the website about rosters. Zero.
Mm,
Not a single player listed. Yeah, you and I are going to guess, and we're probably going to, it's going to be that team that was there in March. Let's be honest.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's really hard to say. But
So on the
they
preparation
have the
games,
talent.
they have had 3 preparation games against China over the last couple of weeks. Lost the
Okay.
first 2, won the final one. And then they're saying 3 days' time they're playing Spain in Tenerife and Belgium also in Tenerife. So that's 2 great tests for them. If they're playing Spain and
Yep.
Belgium, I think you'll get a readout of where are they. But again,
Mm-hmm.
which players are involved?
Yep.
This is a trouble we have right now. Some of them you can jump in and find where their rosters are, but intentionally, lots of them behind closed doors, no stats, no nothing. They just put out final score, and we might get a glimpse of some photos from the game
Yep.
where we can try and pick who's in the roster, but they're intentionally keeping that. So we'll see on Nigeria's side, that's for sure. A huge amount of experience, probably, I imagine, going to be one of the older rosters at the World Cup.
Yep.
How far does that take them? Is that experience invaluable to them at this point? Like you're saying, they amazing in Paris for the Olympics, Afrobasket, multiple gold medals. Does that change how they're going to approach it because they have that experience?
I mean, I think it's an advantage, and not just the experience, but if we go and look, the amount of games that these players, a lot of them have played with each other,
Yeah.
it's more than a lot of teams. Like that's what you kind of need to look at. And that to me is an advantage. It's not just experience, it's experience together as a group.
Yeah.
That should, play dividends for them, I think.
Yeah, you'd hope so, right? It isn't the years, it's knowing one another. Nigeria is one of those where I'm literally like, flip a coin. I can't get a read. I can't get a handle on them. I know they have the ability pretty much to beat anyone or be in any game at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have that confidence in my heart that Nigeria will turn up. It might be game day one against France. They might be phenomenal and push France all the way. And then against Hungary, they'll really struggle. And it's like, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know how to read that. It's really difficult to get a handle on them. Their highest ever finish was 8th at the World Cup back in 2018. Are they going to match that? Go further? Go less? Where do you see Nigeria? But can they go better than the quarterfinals? Could you see them in the semifinals? Maybe they won't make the quarters.
That's the thing about this Nigerian team. I think they can make the quarters. I could see them in a semifinal game. But I could also see them crashing out in a qualification game. Assuming, I think, you and I are in agreement that France are probably going to win this group. So
I'd be very shocked if they didn't.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So the other 2 teams are going to have to go through the qualification, play that game to get into the quarterfinals. They could crash out if they don't come ready to play. And, just looking quickly when you said they have had some warm-up games and all of that, a lot of them they had early in the summer preparation.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you there was a lot of the players that'll be on the team in September who weren't there in those games
definitely.
In the US in their little tour of the US. So it's interesting. It'll be really, really interesting to see.
I think for me, for them to make it through, and again, this is doing that whole where's the bracket going, they're going to need to finish second. Because if you look, they basically, second in Group B plays third in Group A and vice versa. So if we look at Group A, Spain and Germany, probably 1 and 2 in that group, should be. Okay, that's what we're thinking. Spain are top, Germany in second. If Nigeria finish third, are they really going to have enough to beat Germany in their own backyard to get to the quarterfinals? I don't think they are. If they finish second, then based on what we're thinking would happen, they might play Japan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Good point.
that's more likely what Nigeria would be comfortable going against because they
Right.
have a clear advantage in that game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a really good point. And then, it's you and I trying to do our brackets and figuring out who we think, where, what,
This is
how.
the one bit of the
Yeah.
commentary I'm really not going to miss. When you're a real Trump trying to work out points difference and brackets, I'm glad I'm out of that one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting because that's the nice thing. Even if you're like, yeah, we're qualified, you want to finish first. If you can't finish first, there is a bonus to finish second. And there might not even be a bonus. You might have teams that look at it and go, actually, we'd rather play the team that finished higher in the other group than the one that finished in third. So maybe we're not bothered about this game. Maybe we'll play play a little bit of our bench in this game and not overly focus. You just don't know. But there is going to be a bit of that without doubt. But it'd be interesting to see which Nigeria turn up. They have the talent. They can, I think, be a quarterfinal team. But it really is a finger in the air to guess which Nigeria is going to turn up. Next one to have a look at, Korea. I'll throw the question at you straight away. Is Korea's outside threat going to be enough to get them out of this group? Because they lean so heavily on the three ball.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you said it, leans so heavily. Even in all their past tournaments, the tournament in March, their Asia Cup before that, this is a team who are going to put up high numbers, high shots from the 3-point range. If they go in, amazing. Great. They do have an inside game. Let's not take away from, their couple of their post players that they have, but they rely so heavily scoring wise from the three. If they catch fire in a couple games, it's hard to, stay with them. From a team, can they do it for 40 minutes, consecutive games?
Yeah, that's the thing.
We saw it happen in March, right? I mean, you were there. Yeah. You were calling that tournament.
Oh, they had an absolute stinker in game one and got hammered. And then they found their range and made everything else look easy.
Yeah.
They shoot the ball well, they can win games. If they don't shoot the ball well, I don't see how they win games. And again, that's not putting down their internal threat because they've got some bigs that absolutely. Yeah. They've got some great post play and they're strong and they do some good work in the paint. But what a lot of that fed off from what I saw in March was the defense being drawn out to all four corners of the court, closing out shooters, creating that space inside for the bigs to go to work. If the bigs are double teamed, they're going to have far less impact. So them hitting the three ball isn't just about hitting the three ball, it's about spreading the floor. It's about opening the game up. Because in that first game, they had a nightmare and the defense just sagged off them and went, oh, it's okay. We can just watch you jack shots and we'll just pick up the rebounds. It's fine. We'll just crowd the paint and you're not going to score. Right. And that was their biggest problem. And that's the thing that scares me. It's exciting. Don't get me wrong. It's super exciting to have a team because Korea could beat any team at the World Cup. If they get 2 or 3 players just going off, there's not a team in the World Cup that they couldn't beat. And I put the USA in that because any team that can shoot the lights out becomes supremely problematic really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a team just looking quickly who average more shot attempts from 3 than they do from 2-point range. And, I mean, obviously.
And as a neutral, I'm going to go and watch a lot of Korea games when I get to Berlin. Definitely.
I think they've had a good preparation. They played Japan a few days ago, right? And that kind of came down to a nail biter from what I saw on some social media. And I think they'll be prepared. They're such an interesting team. A little bit like, Japan in a way. They want to get out. They want to run. They have more size, though, than Japan. Are they as talented defensively?
They are slightly slower than Japan. Japan play the game at a couple of notches higher pace. The one thing I would say, to speak to Kristen about this, speak to her about Korea's warm-up. Oh my God.
Oh, their speed, their passing, their
exhaustion. They do an hour's warm-up, which is more than most pro teams do in a season. I'd be vomiting my own lungs up, even in my glory days. I'd have been like, what are you doing? How they have anything left in the tank to actually play a game of basketball after their warm-up, I don't know. They had one point where the referee said to them, you can't run the full length of the court. You've got to stay in your half. They were warming up so hard. So
Right.
I think from a stamina perspective, they will play 40 minutes of pushing the ball as hard as they can, and they will never back down and never give up. But yeah, like you're saying, it's similar to Japan with a couple of kind of differences around that.
Yeah. But again, I mean, this is a scary group in if the ball goes the right way, Korea could finish second.
Yep.
It's just 3 games. If they shoot the ball well, Korea might finish second. And well, if we go back and look, from that tournament in March, it might be, what they do and the way that they get out and continue on. I do think, the way the game is moving right now, we're seeing a lot more threes than we've seen in the past years. But to consistently, 3 games in 4 days?
Yeah.
To shoot at
That's
a really,
the key,
really high
right?
percentage, it's tough. Unless your name is Kang, it's tough for any
It was unbelievable.
player.
It's just unbelievable watching that. Just sat back as a commentator, just going, yeah, carry on. This is brilliant. This is fun. Amazing. Unreal.
So we'll see, but it's an exciting team. I mean, again, I think these are the best 16 teams in the world. And we'll talk about the other groups, tomorrow, but there's a reason that they're here. And I truly believe, at least making it to the quarterfinals, any team is capable of doing that. And Korea is one of those.
Yeah, completely agree with you. It's, we'll move over to Hungary in a second, but you look at, France clearly favourites in this group. They should win the group unless something goes pretty wrong. Pick the order for the next 3 is my honest opinion. You throw a dartboard and pick the order. It's going to be difficult to pick that order. I think you have a bit of an idea, but I don't think it's set in stone. And I think when we come to our kind of orders at the end of the episode, they might not be the same. Like Group 1, like Group A, we were like, yeah, we're all the same. I don't think maybe we will be in Group B outside of France winning the group. So jumping to our final team, Hungary. Clearly, they're going to be seen as outsiders from a form book perspective. Lowest ranked team in the World Cup, 19th. Their first World Cup appearance since 1998. As outsiders, we may not have huge expectations from them. Do you think they have what it takes to make waves and maybe a little bit extra to that? How do they make the waves they need to get out of this group?
I mean, I think Dorka Uaz has to have the kind of performance and tournament that she had in March to even get them to qualify. The problem is in March, she played so well the first few games, and then she was required to do so much that the last couple games, she started to taper off a little bit.
Yeah.
And, other people stepped up. They already kind of got those early wins that they needed to, Hungary did, it came down to the last day, but I don't know if their bench is as talented as other teams in their group and in this tournament. And I think their best players are going to have to really, really step up. But I just don't think they have as much talent as a lot of other teams.
Yeah, I think it is, Dorka clearly one of the best players on the planet. That's not a conversation. She did it all season in EuroLeague Women's, and rightfully so for me, EuroLeague Women's MVP. Could have been one of several players, to be fair. There were some huge performances. She'll grab a lot of the headlines, but with that, she'll grab a lot of the attention from the other teams, right?
Yeah.
Find me a team that won't double, if not triple down onto Dorka.
Yeah.
As soon as she gets the ball, she's going to be swarmed. It's how her team react from that situation. And can they create a system, an environment where they actually flourish from that, where that space that's created on the perimeter from the collapse onto Dorka either gives them the seams to attack and go to the bucket, or to spot up for the 3. If they can find 2-3 players who really relish and benefit from that, then I think they've got a chance to win some games. But it just feels like too much is on Dorka's shoulders right now.
Yeah. I do think they have some guards where you can play that, like, inside out game, and
Hmm.
they're capable of knocking down threes. I think Rika Lalick,
Yeah,
Dubai,
100%.
some of their more veteran guards who have had very good professional careers as well,
Yep.
EuroLeague, Eurocup level, FIBA EuroLeague and Eurocup level. Consistently, they haven't played at this level before. So can they do that consistently in these, 3 group phase games? I don't know. I'm not sure. I think if they had, experienced this, maybe, but I think it's going to be a very big learning experience for this
Yep.
Hungary team. And yeah, they qualified, and congratulations. They beat some good teams doing that, but it won't be easy for them to stay consistently. Dork is going to have a huge 3 games, and then 2 or 3 other players are going to have very, very good games.
It's a big ask, right?
It's a very big ask, yeah.
There's a kind of very narrow margin of error in
Yeah.
that equation to get them out of this group. Okay, looking at this group as we wrap up our look into Group B, how do you see this one going? What's your 1, 2, 3, 4 in this group?
I'm gonna go with France.
Oh, scandal!
They paid me to say that.
You wouldn't be welcome there anymore, so you'd have to leave.
Nigeria, Korea, and Hungary.
Okay, I'm flipping your middle two.
Yeah.
I think Korea will beat Nigeria. Something worried me about Nigeria when I watched them play. I just don't feel I just don't. When you get a vibe from a team where it's just not working. Yes, they've played a lot of games together, but they just weren't. And they were getting frustrated with each other, which it felt almost like a new team, like getting frustrated, not quite connecting and understanding one another. Now, that may change when they take to the floor in Berlin, but I just feel Korea, I don't know, they just have a little bit of a step up on that. I think they have an advantage over that. They're not going to have players coming back from the W.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if they've got any in the W.
Yeah, wasn't Park there a little bit?
I think she got.
I don't know if
was
she's
she on a
still on
development
the
player?
roster.
But anyway, I don't think they're going to have a huge amount, so I imagine their preparation is going to be pretty good. And I think it will go France top, Korea second, Nigeria in third spot, and Hungary in fourth. And with that, I think that Hungary-Nigeria game, in my kind of world, becomes unbelievably important. That's the second game in the group, so that's the Saturday game for both of those two. That becomes a really big game, because if Nigeria lose to Hungary in that game, that absolutely throws that group up in the air, and that puts Nigeria on, a really difficult last game as they play France on their last group game.
Right. Yeah.
So
you don't want to wait
that
until
Saturday
then.
game becomes that Saturday game for Nigeria, the Nigeria-Hungary game, could be winner progresses, losers out, really. But we'll wait and see.
It'll be interesting. Sorry, just your comment about France too, that I didn't think about, you saying that, these 3 games, are we going to see them improve every game? Because it's what they need to do, because it's like their preparation heading into the second part of the tournament. So I forgot to say it, but when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, very true. And, I think we'll see if France is ready to take that step every game that they play, if they are able to improve, no matter who they're playing against. So it's a really good point that you made.
Winning,
and we need to watch.
France, for France to win Group B would give them a couple of days off as well.
Yeah.
So their final game would be on Monday, and they wouldn't play until the Thursday after that.
Right. And they'll
I don't know if that's a good thing for France or not.
I don't know. I think they're going to need it because their players are traveling in. Their players are playing big minutes in the WNBA.
Yep.
And they're all going to be traveling in from, the U.S. So
yeah, and some of them from West Coast, right? Some of them coming a long way.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, it's going to be a fun group. I think France should win the group. It feels we're both in agreement, but I think there's going to be some good games in Group B as the other 3 teams kind of fight it out to get their way out. So Should be an interesting one. Okay, that wraps up episode 10. Thank you very much, Shona. We'll be back again tomorrow, episode 11. And can you believe it? We'll be looking at Group C in more detail, picking through each of the 4 teams and giving you our thoughts on what we think the important things are to look out for. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all again soon.